Hi everyone. I'd actually say there's probably more than 5 easy marks here, possibly 7 or 8, or even more than that. So let's kick off. First one, mark number 1. Now, we always need a good introduction. I discussed this in the last website on top tips. We talked about starting well. Okay, a good introduction, the first thing that the marker sees is absolutely essential. So what does a good introduction have in it? It definitely has a good generic industry example. Think of something broad. You probably got your industry example ready for your introduction, I hope. Just make sure it's a good one, and make sure that we wrap it around some element of the unseen. Leaving this example out, Nick calls it diversity crime, which I think is an excellent way to describe it. Certainly crime doesn't pay. There is a mark for that example. Let's make sure that it's a good one. I suggest you pre-learn your introduction. You're probably already doing that. And as a T4 marker, having marked a lot of scripts, I quite like the introduction to be in 2 paragraphs. Okay, I guess you can put the example in either one, but look, do make sure that it looks well and that you wrap the example around the unseen. Okay, next one, a SAF. This is something that the examiner likes to see. She's discussed it in the examiner's report. It's not that difficult to do, and aside from the fact that we're going to get up to 2 marks for doing a SAF, well, one of the things I think about using a SAF is it just gives us that structure. It gives us that structure in the detailed analysis section or with the particular issue. I definitely think it's one to go for on the day. Some students have said that they find it difficult to assess whether or not a particular issue is relevant in terms of Johnson and Scull's technique, SAF technique. There's highly likely to be one there. Let's try and find it, okay? In fact, up to 2 marks there, and certainly one, even if it's a sort of an average SAF, okay? So do try to include one. Next one, your SWOT. One of the things that I see regularly within the appendices is that students are doing appendices, let's say, for example, a SWOT, but they're either not referencing it well in the detailed analysis section or indeed in the report, or they're not updating it for the 4 or perhaps even the 3 main issues that they choose. I mean, do bear in mind that if it's a SWOT or a Mendelow's matrix, you do one in the appendix, that takes a lot of time. If you're not referencing properly in the body of the text, you're not going to score any marks. You will not score a mark just for doing a SWOT in the appendix and not using it. Because what the marker will say is, well, you've done it, but you haven't referred to it. So key things then, a SWOT is a specific requirement, although they don't actually say so. You can do any model that you want, but realistically, we need a SWOT. That's got to be the first appendices that we put down, okay? So given that, we've got to update it for our 4 main issues. And in addition to that, we've got to reference it well. An extremely well done SWOT, a brilliant SWOT, could actually get you up to 3 marks. It's very, very rare in my experience that the students get 3 marks for this. 2 is very possible, 1 as a minimum, but certainly let's include it, update it, and let's reference it as well. Okay. Next one, Mendelow, just mentioned that. Now, I've spoken to a couple of students, one in particular I can think of, who has been unfortunate not to make it through the last 2 attempts in February and in November. And one of the marks that she got, in fact, the November mark, was 24. Now, when I looked through her script, I was coaching her on a one-to-one basis. When I looked through her script and discussed her sort of past experience with it, she never, ever used a Mendelow's matrix. Now, you may well already be planning to do that, or maybe you're not. My advice to you would be to include one, and I'll tell you for why. Using Mendelow, preferably in the appendix, that would be my take on it. It just gives you so much ammunition for the report. You know, you can refer to the matrix in various different areas. I mean, you know, virtually everyone who's mentioned, every company each of the issues is going to be in that matrix in some way or shape or form. They're going to be a stakeholder of some kind. So using Mendelow's gives us a lot of ammunition. I personally would definitely include that in my script. Thing to bear in mind, as I said with the SWOT though, is that if you include it in the appendix and don't reference it, you're not going to get any marks at all. So as a minimum, include it, update it, yeah, and then reference it well. You're going to be getting that mark, more likely 2. Okay? Last point, mark number 5. You probably won't be expecting this one, but this is very, very important. This is something that I've gone on to students for many, many years since I've been coaching and lecturing, tutoring. And I feel it's extremely important to you. But a lot of students sort of listen to me and say, but I can't do that. Okay, let me show you what it is. It's a couch potato. Okay? It's the night before the exam. It's the day before the exam. In my opinion, arriving on the day of the T4 exam, pretty whacked out, very, very tired and probably stressed, although you can't avoid that, is a bad idea. This is a tough exam. You need to be well rested. Whatever you do, please do not work the night before the exam, and preferably not the day before the exam. Take the time off. You need to be rested. I mean, think about it. If you were going to run a marathon, let's say, any information that you find on running marathons in the on Google or anywhere else is certainly not going to say to you, make sure that you train right up until the night before or even the day before. What you'll find, they say, is 2 to 3 days, even 4 days before the marathon, you need to rest. You're certainly not going to be running. And it's the same thing for exams, and particularly the T4 exam. This is a demanding exam. You need to rest. And what students say to me is that they can't do that because they don't think they know things well enough, etc., etc. Really what we're talking about here is just a little bit of discipline. I wouldn't suggest that you do this if I didn't think you were going to get a mark for it. In fact, I think you'd probably get more than 1 mark for it if you arrive on the day well rested. Okay. So listen, good luck for your exam. Good luck for your T4 exam. I hope you do well, and hopefully I'll see you on the next